The young United States is losing this war badly. They need a pep talk, and T-Pain shows up with a pep talk in the form of another pamphlet called The Crisis. Not that T-Pain, this T-Pain, Thomas Paine, author of Common Sense. Now, back in January, had written Common Sense, helped persuade the American people to support Congress in declaring independence, and now in the doldrums of the American Revolution, the nadir, he writes The Crisis. The beginning is famous. These are the times that try men's souls. It's hard to lose a war. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. So summer soldier, sunshine patriot, these are fair weather friends, right? It's easy to be a soldier in the summer when the sun is shining and you're winning the war. Hard to be a soldier in the winter when it's brutally cold and you're losing the war. This is Seahawks fans are in a similar situation right now. We're learning right now who the real Seahawks fans are. The fair weather fans are like, oh, the Seahawks are terrible this year. I'm going to find another team to root for. Those are summer soldiers. Those are sunshine patriots. Those are fake fans. Tom Paine is appealing here to the diehards. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. I love how Paine works in the economic law of supply and demand here. He continues, Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. Britain, with an army to enforce her tyranny, has declared she has the right not only to tax, but to bind us in all cases whatsoever, and if being bound in that manner is not slavery, then there is not such a thing as slavery upon earth. So, Paine is saying freedom is valuable, it's worth fighting for. He's complaining about British tyranny. Here he's quoting from the Declaratory Act. And clever use of language here, because the British are talking about binding the colonies in terms of requirement, but Paine is using it in a literal sense to tie up somebody and likening it to slavery, and suggesting, this is a familiar argument. We've seen lots of patriots say that, the British were trying to enslave us. Paine was actually personally anti-slavery, so it's a little easier to hear that argument from a guy like Paine, who doesn't own slaves and thinks all slaves should be freed, than to hear it from slave owners. But, the colonies don't need... pep talk is nice, but what they really need is a win. And Washington delivers that at the Battle of Trenton. So it's in the winter. American forces are in Delaware. The British forces are over here in Trenton, New Jersey. Washington is going to surprise them, because it's really dangerous to cross the Delaware in late December when it's choked with ice flows. One of those hits your boat and you're in trouble. So Washington figures they're not going to expect them to attempt this dangerous crossing. So he hopes he's going to take them by surprise. And there's another element of surprise working for Washington. It's Christmas. So it's actually Christmas. It's December 25th in the evening, right? And the British forces happen to be mostly Hessian mercenaries in Trenton. Washington's forces find them Well, the Hessians had celebrated Christmas in a popular way at the time. They had gotten drunk. A lot of them were literally too drunk to fight. And so the element of surprise, coupled with the inebriated state of many of the Hessians, adds up to a smashing victory for the United States, for the Continental Army. Now, the Battle of Trenton is not a big battle. This is not a major strategic victory, but it's nice to win a battle for a change, right? And so this is helpful. It's not a turning point, though. The the war is still going badly. The Continental Army is still losing most battles. Militia are still running away. And then in 1777, it's pretty disastrous because the the British capture Philadelphia. They capture the capital, right? So Congress has to flee the city and go on the road for several months. And meanwhile, Washington hunkers down at a place in Pennsylvania called Valley Forge to endure a really brutal winter. They were short of food, short of supplies, so in addition to being cold, they are pretty hungry, and it's a hard time. But Washington makes good use of the time. It's the U.S. is still losing this war, but Washington does some things here in 1777 and 1778 that sow the seeds of victory